What's up, guys? Last month, I created my first piano arrangement ever. It was a song called Flower Dance by DJ Okawari, which has been a long-time favorite of mine. In this video, I'm going to take you guys through the process I went through from start to finish. And with every project vlog / how-to type of video, I always begin with an outline of the steps. Step 1. Recreating the original score. Step 2. Understanding the harmonic structure, or another way to put it is understanding the chord progressions of the song. Step 3. Scoring by simplifying and breaking down the original. Step 4. Testing and revising the score that I created. Step 5. Practicing what I scored. Step 6. Recording my playthrough of my arrangement. And finally, Step 7. Editing. And as a bonus step, it would be amazing if you guys subscribed to this channel. At the current moment, my goal is to try and reach 1,000 subs on this channel as soon as possible. Alright, before we begin, take note that this is a deep dive of Trial 2, Creating the Arrangement, from my other process video focusing more on my Flower Dance 5 Styles cinematic video. I'm super proud of that video, so definitely go check it out. Scoring. Oh man. Here's a question that I had a lot of trouble answering. Which score editor should I use? There were 3 choices I had in mind: Logic, Sibelius, and Finale. For Logic, I thought that I could play the arrangement and turn it into a score at the same time, but I found out that there's a lot of right-hand, left-hand shenanigans you have to do in order to get what you want. Basically, the input system was not very friendly towards people who are new to it, and Logic itself is not really built for scoring purposes. You can probably do it, but not the best choice in program from what I've experienced. Sibelius was a lot better. I tried it and it definitely worked. The only issue for me was that it felt like Microsoft Word or Excel, or something that kind of reminded me of physics lab from college, and that's not the vibe I want in my workspace for piano. Finale is a program I used way back in 6th grade when my piano teacher had me try and make an original composition. I had no idea what I was doing back then, but because of that, I had a good memory of Finale. I did the 30-day free trial and found that I preferred it over the other ones. Take note, I'm on a MacBook Pro, so the interface might be different if you're on Windows. After deciding on the program, I had to learn how to score. Unfortunately, scoring is pretty time-consuming, and it is definitely a skill that you have to gain over time. I feel like it's very similar to editing in that sense. Shortcut keys are very important, and I came up with a system that's decently fast. You have to have a MIDI keyboard for this. What I did was assign rhythm values to the numbers on my keyboard, and then played my MIDI keyboard, the Roland FP30, with one hand while pressing the numbers on the other. So basically it's a combination of inputting the note and also the rhythm at the same time. And if you get used to it, you can actually be pretty fast at it, as long as the notes are simple. I also assigned rest values and dots as shortcuts as well. I think it's a good idea to score all of the original first if you don't have the arrangement in mind yet. So that's what I did. I had a score from Rainbow Pig, which I think is the closest piano score to the original that I could find. That video was a great cover of Flower Dance, by the way. As I copied the score, I found that marking the original score helps with keeping your place. Before I figured that out, I was kind of losing my place all the time, so definitely try and keep some sort of sticky note indicating which measure you left off on. Overall, I think it's relatively easy to learn how to do. For each section, I scored one hand first and then the other hand. Then I moved on to the next section or copied and pasted repeated parts. And that's basically all there is to scoring a simple piece like this one. Alright, step 2. The next thing I did in order to simplify the piece into an easier arrangement was breaking down and understanding the harmonic structure of the piece. Basically, I did some analysis on it. So for Flower Dance, I believe due to the key signature that it's in G sharp minor. I sometimes occasionally think it could be an E Lydian as well, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna just use the numbers for G sharp minor. Okay, so the introduction does a 6-7-1 progression. Then the first section does a chord progression of 6-7-5-1 back to a 6-7-1, like the intro. So basically it starts off on E major 7th, F sharp major, D sharp major, G sharp minor, and then the same as the intro. After that is the next section, which is a string of chords which goes from 1, 5, 6, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 1. It's a bit weird at first to see that chain, but the more you play, the more you realize it's a series of movements that you can think of as starting from the tonic to moving an interval of a fourth back, then an interval of a second forward, then a fourth back again, then a second forward again, then a fourth back again, and then a second forward again, and then the last one is a fifth instead of a fourth. Then repeat. I actually did some sight reading recently of Tanjiro's theme from Demon Slayer, and it has the exact same chord progression as this, just in a different key, D minor. Not sure how common this chord progression is, but it's a pretty nice one. Anyways, that was basically all I had to do, to be honest. The rest of the song pretty much repeats the same chord progressions that I mentioned throughout. There are slight differences on some occasions, but it's pretty much along the same lines. Step 3, simplifying. So after I had an idea of what was going on in the piece, I found it much easier to start breaking things down and simplifying them. For the right hand, it's obvious where the melody line is, so I sort of just removed everything that wasn't the melody. And then for the left hand, what I did was basically turn everything into basic chords. For the first section and beginning, I basically kept it the same because it was already really simple, but once the second section hit, that's when I started to really simplify things for the left hand especially. Of course, the MIDI keyboard helped a lot with replacing things really quickly. So sometimes, especially for the faster parts, you gotta test things out to see if they sound good when they're changed. At first, I actually changed it to be completely different, but after I played it, I found that it wasn't as fitting as I wanted it to be, and ended up using it as part of the March section for my Flower Dance 5 Styles arrangement. So yeah, this part was just a lot of trial and error until I felt like everything I changed sounded right. Step 5, practice. After finishing the score for the easy arrangement, it was playtime. It's weird because even though I scored it, I still feel like I had to practice the normal amount to play it well. There wasn't any sort of extra advantage. It might have just been because of the method and the fact that I was way more used to playing the original version, but it took some time to practice it before I started recording it. My practice method was pretty simple. All I did was practice one page at a time until I basically felt like I had it down. Step 6, recording. So recording actually took a long while. I feel like one of the biggest mistakes that I made was trying to record while not having the piece memorized. So if you actually look at the video for my first arrangement, you'll notice that I am tapping my iPad occasionally and I do have the score out. I think this was one of the biggest mistakes I did, so if you're gonna try this out, just make sure you actually have the piece memorized. I do find that it's a lot easier. I feel like that was one of the main reasons that I actually had to do this many takes. I ended up having to do about 35 takes, which is kind of a lot. The way I did it was I played through the entire piece, even if I made a mistake. I can't say that this is necessarily a better method, but I do think it does help with practicing the piece evenly versus having the beginning or middle the best. Of course, ideally you're recording this when you already have everything solid, so I kind of just rushed into it. In terms of cameras, I set up 3 cameras, one for vlogging, a top down, and one at my side about, I'd say 40 degrees from the piano. I ended up using that one because I felt like the top-down one just wasn't quite good enough, even though I have made a top-down video with the Synthesia visual before. Alright, step 7. So after I got my good attempt, I used my Concert Grand CFX piano plugin as the main sound. I set it to the contemporary default one and then exported. Then I just added a cool picture in After Effects and synced the audio to my playing in Premiere. Overall, it was a pretty simple process for this video in terms of editing. I'd say the arrangement itself was the main focus of this project, so that's why I didn't worry too much about doing anything fancy with the edits. Alright guys, that is it for this video, but it is not the end of the story for this project. While I was in the middle of this project, I sort of felt like a simple arrangement of Flower Dance was just not satisfying enough for me, so I came up with the idea to play Flower Dance in 5 different styles, or if you want to use the more proper term, 5 different genres. I also went all out and tried to make that video look awesome. So, if you want to learn about how I created my second arrangement, a 5 different styles type of arrangement, and also how I filmed it, go check out that video. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and giving the video a like. I really appreciate the support. Let me know if you have any questions about this project in the comments, and I hope to see you in the next video.